welcome to the GITV Football Forecast Show. I'm Chuck Wegman with the 8-5A guru, Mr. Buster Crumpton, and welcome to the GITV Football Forecast Show this week. And Buster, of course, we need to really thank our sponsors, Bulldog Signs and the Morris Center, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, and of course Athens Chevrolet. Chevy runs deep.
Taking it deep. There you go. Okay.
But big week in
man, I mean
5A football around the state, of course, and some great games.
Well, and our region's starting to take a little shape, and oh man, Cedar coming out of nowhere, giving Gainesville fits last Friday.
Well, I think you said it best earlier. Probably the best 3-loss team in the state.
Man, Cedar's for real, and they went through that tough part of that schedule, which we'll talk about later. But there's a lot of things starting to shape up, but there's probably none bigger than this coming Friday for the Gladiators when we play Heritage at Heritage.
No doubt about it, and it shapes up that our next 4 ball games or 5 ball games are must wins for the Gladiators. Of course. Yeah. Really need to come out of the situation with 3 wins.
Yeah, I think everybody's pretty much, if you're in that top half of the region, everything's a must-win from this point on. And, we'll see how it shakes out. But the chase is on. The road to the Dome, it technically starts in the first region game of the season until the playoffs, but it's on now.
And, of course, no bigger game for the Gladiators than the game they have this week. And we can't look forward, but we can look at Heritage coming up this Friday night.
Yes, sir.
Well, Buster, let's go to the GITV Top 20, of course. Going to look at the second half group teams. You've got Cedar Shoals in there at 3-3 at the number 20 spot, and then Rome, Whitewater, Union Grove, and Lee County coming in at 16.
Yeah, a lot of teams south of the Macon line there starting to make this top 20 poll, but
Lee County at 6-0.
Yes, sir. And they're starting to beat their chest a little bit. Union Grove cracking that top 20 for the first time this year. Very deserving teams there, but Cedar, keep in mind, their 3 losses: Gainesville, Heritage, Flowery Branch.
No doubt.
And all 3 of those teams in the top 15.
No doubt about it. So Cedar coming in with, of course, their 2 of their wins against Elbert County and Hart County.
And those are no pushovers.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And then we get into 11 through 15, starting with 15, Richmond Hill at 5-0, really making a lot of noise down there around the Savannah area. Clarke Central you got at 14, Heritage at 13 at 5-1, Flowery Branch at 12, and Kell at 5-1, picking up at the 11th spot.
Right. And Richmond Hill 5-0. Their biggest win so far this year against Glen Academy. But people down there, like you said, Chuck, starting to believe. And then that 5A region section there between 14 and 12. And is that murder's row?
No doubt.
And they're all going to play each other within the next 2 or 3 weeks here.
Exactly. So then we're going to get into the top 10. And, of course, just familiar names everywhere you look. Of course, number 10 spot, Allatoona at 6-0. And then the Ware County Gators coming in at 9 at 4-1. East Paulding 5-0. That team is definitely, the Raiders always play great ball. And then Warner Robins at 4-1 in the number 7 spot, and ML King at 5-0 at number 6.
Yeah, and East Paulding is the team that I think, if you'll keep an eye on, you'll start seeing them creep into that top 5. And they've got a big showdown at the end of the year. Last game with Allatoona.
Yeah,
and that's 2 undefeated teams. Paths going to cross. But go ahead.
And then we get to the top 5, and it's the who's who of 5A football in the state of Georgia. Of course, Stevenson at 4-0, Tucker at 5-0. Your defending state champion 4A. Gainesville at 5-1, Thomas County Central at 5-1, and Northside Warner Robins. Buster, I don't see anybody.
There's no weak link, and out of them top 10 teams, there's 4 losses combined with all 10 of those teams that have played at least 5 games. So, 50 games, 4 losses, very deserving. Those teams in that top 20 or top 10 right there, and we've got some state matchups that we're fixing to talk about here, but. I'll let you start those off, but there's a big state matchup out of those top 5 teams coming up.
No doubt about it. Of course, number 1 state matchup that we're kind of looking at, Jenkins at 4-1 traveling to Ware County to take on the Gators, number 9 in the state, also at 4-1.
Yeah, first ever meeting between these two schools. Both teams got a good offensive game plan going. Ware's averaging 26 points a game. Jenkins averaging 22. Ware got a little bit stiffer defense, only giving up 9 points a game. Jenkins giving up right at 15. I don't know where Jenkins is. I know Ware's way south. Is this like a sectional matchup there?
I think this is Jenkins County.
Okay.
And there is a Jenkins in Savannah, but this is Jenkins County. So
well, the Gator fans, they brag every week. They tell everybody how good they are, and this is going to be a stiff test. And I wonder if Ware might be looking past these Jenkins guys because they're not ranked. But that'll be a good one to watch. We'll see how that shapes out.
We will see. That's going to be a Friday night ball game. And, of course, the number 2 game in the state of Georgia is just one of the biggest. And these two are right around the corner from each other. I mean, maybe 10, 12 miles apart, I think. So number 4, Tucker, at 5-0, traveling to Stevenson at 4-0, and number 5 in the state, excuse me.
And when you said they're so close together, first ever meeting between these two schools over there in DeKalb County. Both teams averaging over 40. Both teams giving up less than 7. What gives?
Well,
what's going to happen?
Stevenson has always been a 5A school, where Tucker's been a 4A school, and with the new addition of the 6th region, or 6th, yeah.
So maybe one of those deals where they purposely never play, but now because of the regional alignment, they've got to play.
Well, yeah, that and there were so many schools in the DeKalb area, of course, in 4A. Tucker always had a full region schedule in the past, so just wasn't a purpose to play each other, but
well, it's a
two storied programs, no doubt about it.
And don't let Stevenson fool you, folks. Everybody's heard of Tucker year in and year out. But I saw Stevenson 2 weeks ago on TV take care of a very good Southwest DeKalb team, 34-0.
Well, and Stevenson, I think it was last year, and again this year. I know last year I think they had 20 kids sign Division I scholarships.
Wow.
So it's one of those schools. If you're watching football on Saturday, and they're saying that kid's from the Atlanta area, and more than likely he is
from
a Stevenson product. There's no doubt about it. So. Definitely
huge state matchup.
Definitely going to be a big ball game. So, Buster, let's get into the GITV, of course, the 8-5A standings right here in our own region, and you got 3 teams undefeated right there to number 1 position: Clarke Central, Gainesville, and Flowery Branch. Of course, we coming over the big win over Salem, 37-0, and Gainesville. With a big win, 42-23 over Cedar Shoals, and Flowery Branch beating Appalachia 30-20. And both those games a lot closer than what people were expecting.
Yeah, the Gainesville score looks a little bit worse than it actually was. 28-23 in the fourth quarter. They had 2 turnovers that turned that thing around late. Flowery Branch actually trailed Appalachia most of the night until they came back from behind.
Correct. Yeah.
But of course, those are the prime positions to have no losses at this point in the season. Clarke Central, Gainesville, Flowery Branch, and when you say Heritage, they're at 3-1. Who we faced this week, they're fighting for their region lives to stay in this race.
Yeah, and of course Heritage coming in at the 4 spot at 3-1. They beat Winder Barrow. And then you've got Cedar Shoals and Salem both at 1 and 3, and I think you see Cedar Shoals in a much better position to hold on to that 5 spot, where Salem's still got some tough ball games to get.
Absolutely.
So
go ahead.
No, you all over it.
Yeah, Cedar. They've already went through that tough part of the schedule. They've played Gainesville. They've already played Flowery Branch and Heritage. They've got to play Salem, Appalachia, Winder Barrow to finish out. They have a victory over Loganville. What scares me, Chuck, they're sitting there with 3 losses. They've got very winnable games left this season. When we come to town, we better hope we've taken care of some business before we get there, because if we don't take care of business with Gainesville, Flowery Branch, and Heritage, we could be staring at Cedar with a 3-loss record.
No doubt.
And the winner of that game is going to get that 4th playoff.
And that's why the ball game Friday night is so big, and our ball game every week is very big. So here we go, and I can't imagine anybody looking past anybody.
And that's looking way too far ahead. I'm just throwing a scenario out there.
Sure.
Yeah,
but
man,
I mean, you look at the
Cedar's very much still in this region race.
Flowery Branch against Appalachia last week, and nobody can afford to look past anybody.
No.
You got to play every week. So, and that's the situation that the Gladiators are coming into. Mm-hmm. And of course, tied at 7 is Appalachia at 0-3. Winderberry at 0-3, and Loganville all coming in at 0-3. So that is your region standings as we sit, and of course some good ball games coming this weekend. There's no doubt about it. We're going to get into some of the region play. Of course, Appalachia at 1-4. Traveling over to Loganville at 1-4, so something's going to give there.
Yeah, Loganville leads all time 3-1. Loganville won last year in a very close game, 45-42. And look at how even both of these teams match up. Both scoring 18 a clip, both giving up 34 a clip. You said it. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
Maybe Loganville gets denied because they're at home. I don't know. And now you've got two teams that are drifting out of the region race, and more than likely whoever loses this one's going to be out of the region race.
No doubt about it. And then our number 2 game, of course, in the region, Gainesville at 5-1, number 3 in the state, traveling over to Salem to take on the Seminoles at 2-4. And hey, they've got some talent on that ball count at Salem. I mean, they're big.
Well, and they look bigger than we did on the field Friday.
Yeah.
And Gainesville showed that they might be a little bit slower out the gate on the road. Struggled at Cedar for at least 3 quarters. You never know, and that's why you play the game. Gainesville star-studded on offense and defense. They should go up there and take care of business, but we all know funny things can happen up there in Rockdale County.
Yeah.
So
no doubt about it. And then, of course, Winderbarrow traveling at 0-5, traveling over number 12 Flowery Branch, and you hate it, but this might be number 29.
It's Flowery Branch's homecoming. They beat Winderbarrow last year pretty handily, 64-7. You got to feel for them Double G Bulldogs, and I don't know. You get my thumbs up award because you're coming out there every night and know you're giving it your all every Friday, but just keep the course; it'll get better.
Yeah,
that's all you can tell them people over there in Winter. They love their Double G Bulldogs. By the way, one of the most best fan bases you'll see.
And I love going to ball games over there. The atmosphere is wonderful. Mm-hmm. The support of the Winderbarrow program is just tremendous. So, come on, Winder, let's do
it for us. Come on, go get the Falcons.
There you go. And, of course, our GITV Game of the Week is going to be number 14, Clarke Central, traveling to Conyers to take on number 13, Heritage Patriots. We're coming in at 3-2, and Heritage is at 5-1.
Yeah, Clarke been dominating this series, 11 games to 4 over the years. We do know about last year's mess-up. Heritage won 21-14. Up to that point, Clarke had a 4-game winning streak over the Patriots, but Heritage got a different team they're putting out on the field now. A very good product, one of the best defenses in the state. Clarke has got to find a way to counter that stiff Heritage D. We got to try to get that ball up and down the field. We got to try to get some scoring opportunities quickly. And Chuck, I don't know, man. This is what it's all about. This is where you want to be. You want to be fighting for that top region spot. But one of these guys is going to go down Friday, and I just hope it ain't the Red and Gold. I hope we go up there and represent well, and I hope we stay in the thick of this thing.
Well, here we go again, and into week 6 for us with the bye week, and you've got to ask, and you've got to have, as young as we are, we've got to have young men step up and fill some holes and play inspired football. Just as we are asking every week, and it's just more importantly now as you're taking on a quality team of Heritage.
Well, it is, and the keys that come into this game, it's on the road, so the road trip's always a factor. You're fighting injuries. We're going to have guys playing that might not be accustomed to playing or starting. They're just going to have to step their game up and know the game plan and get in there and get after it. I look for a great game. I think these two teams are evenly matched. I don't think it's going to be anything less than what we saw last year, which we know it was a touchdown separation between the two. Clarke actually led 14-0 at half, wound up losing 21-14. So I think it'll be more of the same. And
it's always a tough place to play. You get out of your region border just a little bit. You get on that edge, and you get a different group of officials out of the Atlanta area instead of the normal Northeast Georgia officials, and we've seen some funny things happen.
And it is, and it's not that the referees aren't any good. We're not saying that at all, but they interpret holding a little bit different than maybe the guys we're used to down here. They interpret the procedures or the motions on offense a little bit different, and it takes a good half to adjust.
Yeah, and
how many penalties last year?
17.
Wow.
We had 17 penalties
Very
in that ball
uncharacteristic.
game, and here we go back to Heritage again this year, so we'll see what happens. So enough on that, and Buster, let's talk about the Players of the Week last week. Of course, our GITV Offensive Player of the Week
goes to running back Jelani Payne. The senior stepped up nicely for the absence of running back Rodney Willingham. Had to tote the load by himself and did a very good job. Gained over 100 yards, had a couple of touchdowns. Jelani Payne, most definitely our Offensive Player of the Week.
And it was a tough call this week. Of course, Dowdy had the big game offensively with all the receptions. So it was a tough call this week.
No doubt.
And he made a good choice there with Jelani Payne, of course, being the GITV Offensive Player of the Week. And, of course, the GITV Defensive Player of the Week, another standout. And it's getting better every week.
And got the hairdo of the week as well. That's defensive end Cedric Armstrong. Seemed like every time we looked down the field, number 33 was coming off the top of the pile or getting out from underneath the bottom of the pile. But Cedric was all over the place, scored a touchdown as well. You can't ask much more of your defensive end than that.
No, and big week for the defense with the shutout against the Salem Seminoles. And once again, great choices for the GITV Players of the Week. And, of course, as the Gladiators get ready to travel over to Conyers to take on the Heritage Patriots Friday night, 7:30 start at Heritage High School. We ask everybody to come by and join us. And if you can't make it to that high school game, please check out the high school game in your area. And a lot of big ones all over the state, Jenkins and Ware and Tucker and Stevenson. So just some great ball games all over the state, Buster.
It's just that time of year.
It's getting there every week. So for Buster Crumpton, I'm Chuck Wegman. We thank you for joining us on the GITV Football Forecast Show. And I'd like to thank our executive producer, Dr. John Ward, and our technician, Chris Crumpton. As far as our sponsors go, Athens Chevrolet, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, the Morris Center, and Bulldog Signs. Bulldog Signs always delivers.
There you go.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
So.